UFC 324 taking place 25th of January, Sunday, and it's the first fight of the new year 2026. So I'm going to give my predictions, quick rundown of the fights. So we're looking at, first of all, the early prelims. Now, I only have one prediction over here, and that's Alex Perez against Charles Johnson. Now, if we have to look at Alex Perez, man himself from United States of America. So he's fighting out of the flyweight division, 25 wins, 10 losses, 0 draws. Now, 25 wins is impressive, but 6 of those wins have come by knockout, 7 wins by submission, and he has 11 first-round finishes. It's a very good record. To have 7 wins by submission it's quite a high achievement in the current day standard. We don't really get much submissions anymore, partially due to the fact that many people in the UFC currently have very good experience in jiu-jitsu, Greco-Roman wrestling, Dagestani wrestling. Everything is top tier, so it's very hard to really get a submission win unless you're from Brazil, or you're trained by like a legendary Brazilian jiu-jitsu master. Then you definitely can get submission wins in the current day. Now, when Alex Perez has a very, very good record in the UFC. Now, his most recent win was against Alamabayev, where he lost by submission. So it wasn't even a recent win, it's a recent loss. Before that, he lost against Tatsuro Taira, which is not very good. It's not what we want. But he did lose in the second round, and Tatsuro Taira is a beast. Now, he did win previously in 2024 in April against Nicolau. And before that, he lost against Makayev. So this guy really doesn't have an impressive record. I don't know what I was saying. This guy really does not have a shining record. But he is facing off against Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson's coming in at a minus 200 favorite on the odds, also from United States. Now, the inner G, Charles Johnson, 18 wins, 7 losses, 3 wins by submission. See, some of these guys have submission wins. 4 first round finishes. Now, his most recent win was against Kavanagh, August 23rd, 2025. And before that, he fought Temarov and Mudaraji. Mudaraji was a nice win. I remember that one. Went all the way to decision, but he looked very, very good. He also previously defeated Joshua Van in July the 14th, 2024 by knockout. Let me just preface that by saying Joshua Van is the current flyweight champion. And we have Charles Johnson, who just defeated Joshua Van. And I will reiterate, he is the flyweight champion. Now, because Charles Johnson defeated Joshua Van in early July 2024, almost 2 years ago, why aren't we seeing a rematch now? I mean, you have to give Joshua Van his flowers. And by flowers, I mean dead grass, because he got that belt by nothing. He won that belt in 10 seconds due to an injury by Pantoja falling on his own arm. So it really must sting Charles Johnson's ego for him to have already defeated Joshua Van, and now he sees his opponent that he already defeated is the current champion of his division. It must hurt. Anyway, at the end of the day, I'm going with Charles Johnson to win. I think Alex Perez record is not too good, and Charles Johnson, I think his skills are a bit more refined. His technique's there. I think he will pull a win against Alex Perez. So that's the first prediction. Okay, now on to the second prediction. Now, this is a nice one. It's Atiba Gautier against Andre Pulyayev. Atiba Gautier from Cameroon. People are calling him the second version of Francis Ngannou. Now, will be able to live up to that standard? I hope not, because Francis Ngannou had quite a few contract disputes with the UFC, Dana White in particular. Now, if he pulls the same punch power as Francis, then that's a different story altogether. Now, he is fighting at a lower weight class than Francis Ngannou. He's fighting at middleweight, but Atiba Gautier himself, the Storm, 9 wins, 1 loss, 8 fight win streak, 8 wins by knockout, 7 first round finishes. Let me just say that again. 7 first round finishes and he has 9 fights. Basically has nearly won all his fights in the first round, which is insane. He joined the UFC last year, March 2025. And since then he's fought twice more in the UFC, all in 2025. So this guy has fought 3 times in 2025 and he's won all of them in the first round, all by knockout. Let me just reiterate, in case you didn't hear. First round, all the matches he's won by knockout. Insane. He's looking and shaping up to be the next Francis Ngannou. And will be able to live up to that standard, I don't know. But he's definitely going to bring the heat to Andre Pulyaev, his opponent, also in the middleweight division. 10 wins, 3 losses, 5 first round finishes. Now, this guy's a Russian, but does he have the wrestling? No. He's not from Dagestan. Now, his previous fight was against Klein. Now, Klein did not put up a fight at all, and Pulyaev knocked him out in the second round. It was quite early in the second round or 2, I believe. And then before that, he fought in March 2025 against Duncan, and he lost. Only has 2 fights in the UFC. Him and Atiba are fighting on the prelims. I would thought they would fight in the early prelims, but they've been bumped up to the prelims because both of them are very new in the UFC. They've been fighting for like a year. But anyway, I don't think this needs to be analyzed. It is a 100% guaranteed bet the mortgage on the house that Atiba will win. It's not close. It will never be close. He will win. Nothing more. Okay, so if we just move back up. Okay, next fight is the fight right after that. Main event of the prelims. Umar Nurmagomedov against Deiveson Figueiredo. Now, Umar Nurmagomedov, he's really fallen from grace since he's fought Merab, because that was his shining moment in history, fighting Merab. And losing to Merab was also his equal highest downfall. Now, he was undefeated prior to fighting Merab. And then when he fought Merab just gave him his loss to his record, which is not good. Now, he has very good technique when it comes to his kickboxing. He plants that lead foot, and when you cannot tell when he's throwing that high kick, throws it so fast on a whim. It's very hard to know when he's throwing that head kick because he does it super fast. You can't even tell any stance change because he doesn't give anything away. There is no telegraphing whatsoever. Now, he's fought quite a few people, and he has very notable wins against Corey the Sandman Sanhagen, also against Almacan, Barcelos, and Manners. Now, he did fight one more time after his loss to Merab, but it was against Mario Batista, and he did win, but I thought that was a shaky win at best. I remember watching that and I thought, both of them had very good takedowns. I remember that Mario Bautista had a couple of good takedowns of his own, and got quite a bit of control time. But Umar also had a bit of control time. It was very hard to critique either of them because both of them had their faults and had their pros. But I actually gave it to Mario to win that one. But again, it was a split. It was a unanimous decision by the judges, but I thought it was unanimous for Mario, not unanimous for Umar. Anyway, when it comes to these two fighting against one another, I'm going to pick Umar to win. Umar, he will win against Deiveson Figueiredo because his technique's better, he's younger, he's stronger, he's fitter, he jumps higher. And here we have Deiveson Figueiredo, who's quite old, he's ancient. And Figueiredo has been in the flyweight division since there's been flies in the UFC. Now, 25 wins and only 5 losses is a very good record to have. But his recent record to date is not good. It's quite not good. He did have a recent win against Jackson, split decision in October last year, but he did lose against Piotr Jan, and he also lost against Corey Sanhagen, which is not good, not what we want for old Deiveson Figueiredo. To lose against Piotr Jan means nothing at all because that guy is just a beast, current bantamweight champion, or will remain current bantamweight champion for many years until Merab goes into his second form and just takes that belt back. Anyway, I think this is going to be a one-sided battle. Umar's just going to go in there, collect his paycheck and just bounce. And that'll be the end for Divas and Figueiredo. I think he's going to retire after this. Anywho, so next prediction is Derek, the Black Beast Lewis, against Waldo Cortes Acosta. No relation to Paul Acosta whatsoever, just have the same surname. So when we look at Derek Lewis, the Black Beast, 29 wins, 12 losses, 0 draws. 10 first round finishes is insane. He's coming in a way better form. There was an issue with him taking peptides, but I don't think that was a bit of false news, bit of rumors flowing around. I don't know. But his recent form, it would prove otherwise. It would prove contrary to the point I just made, but anyway. So he has recent wins against Teixeira Taira, Nascimento, Almeida. However, he did lose against Almeida though, 5th rounds by decision, but we can look past that and check out his noticeable win against Teixeira Taira, against Teixeira, July 13th, 2025, where he won in the first round by knockout. That really was a very quick knockout. I remember sitting there watching that, and I think it was 30 seconds in, he sends this guy to sleep. It was insane. I think he also did like a backflip as well at his weight. It's insane. But him fighting Waldo. Now Waldo is higher ranked in the heavyweight, but that means nothing because the heavyweight rankings mean nothing at this point. As long as Tom Aspinall is champion and we have Cyril gone as contender, the rankings mean nothing because those two guys need to fight a proper fight for the belt before the rankings can mean anything. Because in my mind, that heavyweight title is very much disputed. And you can't call it an undisputed title if it's very much disputed in the modern era. Anyway, Salsa Boy Waldo Cortes Acosta, 16 wins, 2 losses. This guy, he's been on a fight win streak since 2025, mid-2025. Because I know before that he lost against Sergey Pavlovich, and then he went on to win against Delija and Gaziev. And he won those two by knockout the first round. So his record's quite notorious, except for his 2 wins. Both him and Derek are knockout artists. I think Derek's going to come in with more power, and I think he's just going to seal the deal. I think he has more technique than Waldo. Not to say that Waldo's technique's not there. It's just pales in comparison to Derek's. I think Derek is going to make it look very quick and easy. And there's not much to say because I think it's not going to be a flashy win. He's just going to walk in there, give him 1-2 left hand over right, and then he's going to walk out with his purse. Okay. Next event, co-main, Sean O'Malley against Song Yadong. Now, Sean O'Malley recently bumped up to the co-main. Good for him. He's getting traction back in his career after his noticeable losses. But Sugar Sean O'Malley, ever since he was reigning supreme king of bantamweight, then Marab came along and destroyed everything. So he's lost twice to Marab in a row. First one by decision at the UFC Sphere, which was a spectacular event in USA. And then after that he lost against Marab again for his rematch at the title. And he lost by submission. I remember that one. He got put to sleep with a choke wrapped around his chest. I mean, Marab put all his weight on him and choked him out with his own body weight. That was quite a show. But you have to look at Sean's record of knocking people out. It's insane. Ever since he featured in Dana White's Contender Series, got himself a contract, he was cherry-picked opponents by the UFC. I will state that to the UFC itself, that they gave him opponents just to boost his record. They tried to manufacture him to be the next Conor McGregor. It's quite evident with the people they gave him to defeat. Those guys, I don't want to list their names. You know what? I'll go and list their names because, yeah. Quinones, Wineland, Vieira, Almeida. Let me just list them again. Quinones, Wineland, Vieira, Almeida, Montino, Paiva. Those guys, nobodies they gave him. he demolished them all because they were nobody. They were so weak, they had their records very, very bleak in the UFC. They knew that O'Malley had the makings of a great star. So they gave him very, very weak opponents that they knew his style was way better against. Very inactive people themselves in their careers were quite stale. And he just went on to win and win and win, and then he became a star. He became the face of the UFC in 2023 and 2024. But then Merab came along and ended that story. Now he's getting a second chance, not for the title, but just to climb back up the bantamweight ladder. That's against Song Yadong, the Kung Fu Kid himself. 22 wins, 8 losses. Now Song Yadong fought recently Cejudo Henry, or Henry Cejudo Triple C. Of course he would win by unanimous decision early last year, February, because Henry Cejudo is very washed. That guy needs to surf in the two oceans because of how washed he is. The guy can't do anything, and he's been telling the UFC he's going to retire, and he has 3 times. Now, his most recent fight, he did lose again. And I think that was, I can't remember who that was against, but he needs to now retire. I think he is retired. He even stated for the last time he's retired. But will he really be retired? I don't know, because he was one of the only ever true double champs in history to win and hold both titles simultaneously. But since then, he's peaked. He was champion in his prime, he was quite good, and then he peaked, and then he just fell off the horse. Anywho, Song Yadong also fought Piotr Yan. Of course he would lose against Piotr Yan because Yan is Yan. And he did have a noticeable win against Simon, also against... no, he actually lost against Corey Sandhagen. And that's why Corey Sandhagen got the title shot against Merab last year, October. And Merab put him to sleep. We didn't choke him out, he won by decision. But we saw Corey Sandhagen show incredible fitness, and he managed to stand up all of Merab's takedowns, which was quite noticeable. Anyway, yeah, it's not a difficult prediction to make. Sean O'Malley will win. It's almost a given, but something could happen. I'm going to say it's a 70%, 30% chance Sean O'Malley will win, but it's not a given. It's not guaranteed. And now we're moving on to the main event. Justin Gaethje against Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. The card that this event is built around. Now, if we had to look at Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, now I personally want Paddy to win. I think he reminds me a lot of Dricus du Plessis. All his fights in the UFC, he's won. He's undefeated in the UFC. People forget that. People forget that about Paddy. But he does have 3 losses, but those are prior to fighting in the UFC. Same with Dricus. Now, he has quite a few wins by submission, 10 wins by submission, 7 wins by knockout, and he has a 9-fight win streak because he's only fought 9 fights in the UFC. Now, his most noticeable win was his most recent win against Michael Chandler, which he won by knockout in the 3rd round. He's also fought Kai Green, Tony Ferguson. Why did they ever match them up? I will not know. Tony was almost half in the tomb before he fought Pimblett. Got so many health issues. And then he just shows up, fights Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, loses of course because the guy is ancient. And then he went on to box on Misfits card. Recently won, so he's making a career out of boxing. Anyway, Paddy the Baddy Pimblett fought Leviat, Vargas, Vidaramni, Gordon, won them all. Now, Paddy's technique is not flashy. Comes at you really slow. He's very good with his takedowns. His jiu-jitsu is probably his most supreme ability. Not to say that he doesn't have other abilities that are very effective. His kicking, kickboxing, his brawling, it's all top-notch. When we look at the highlight himself, Justin Gaethje, what's not to say about the guy other than he's really past his prime. I mean, this guy has been on a losing streak so long. Then he pulled out a noticeable win against Rafael Fiziev. How, I do not know. Before that, he got brutally knocked out in the 5th round in the last second by Max Holloway. Greatest knockout of all time. And I will die on that hill, saying that it's the greatest knockout of all time. Change my mind, I will die on that hill. Now, previously, before that, he fought Dustin the Diamond Poirier. He did win by 2nd round TKO, but that's because Dustin blinked. Not his fault, he blinked, and then he got knocked out. It happens to the best of us. Okay. Before that, he won against Rafael Fiziev. Shame for Rafael, man. But anyway, before that, he lost against Charles Oliveira. Now, there's a common factor here. All the weaklings lose against Charles, because Charles is the Bronx. Now, is that to say that Paddy is also a weakling? No, he's not, because he has never fought Charles. And therefore, he's still not going to win against Justin, because there's an unknown variable in the fact that we haven't seen Paddy ever fight 5 rounds. Not to say that he can't win because he hasn't fought 5 rounds. It is to say that in essence, having an unknown variable in a prediction is always a risk. Now, I like to have all my cards face up on the counter when I make a prediction. It's way better. Having an unknown variable that Paddy hasn't fought 5 rounds, it's not going to weigh the scales or tip them too much. But Justin has way more experience in those championship rounds. And if this goes all the way, which I think it won't, but if it goes all the way, Justin's going to pick up easily round 4 and 5 because he knows how to summon that energy in round 4 and 5. He knows where to go for those reserves. Paddy's never gone there, not to say he can't, but it's different when you train for 5 rounds and when you're fighting 5 rounds. I wouldn't know, but still it's there. Now, Paddy, his technique is not as polished and refined as Justin, but Paddy has more power. He's more feral like a cat. Justin's more reserved, but is also like a cat, just an older one, and a cat who's got recently knocked out. Now, Justin, I think, will win. I'm predicting 2nd round. I think he's going to win by knockout. Not that I want him to win. I really, really want him, a little hard hearts, Paddy to win, but it won't happen. I think Justin will win. And it's going to be a knockout. I think this is how exactly it's going to go. It's going to crack Paddy in the early 2nd round. Paddy's going to wobble. He's not going to be able to resurface himself and redistribute all the damage, get back up, take stock, take the initiative, and bounce back. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to wobble. I think Justin's going to then see that and smell the blood in the water, go like a shark, take him down, and submit him. So I think we're going to see Paddy's first loss in the UFC by submission. Not what we want, but it's what will happen. And that also could be the opposite. So I fully understand that Paddy could choke Justin out in the first 2 seconds of round 1, and that's very plausible, but I doubt that's going to happen. I think Paddy, he's not going to want to risk it. He's going to want to either win by unanimous decision as a safety net, but I think Justin's going to go all out because he has really nothing to lose, because he even stated that if he doesn't win against Paddy, he's going to retire. He's been hanging that carrot on a stick against the UFC for such a long time, so that it'll give him a title fight. And now that they finally give him a title fight, it's not really what he wanted, because he wanted a fight against an easy champion. But he was dreadfully silent when Ilya got that belt, and then he sort of ran away, hid in a hole, until Ilya sort of didn't vacate, but he's on a hiatus. And now, because of that, Ilya coming back in May, we have an interim belt. And now he poked his head back out of the hole, and he wants, he wants his turn at the championship belt, because I think he was champion at one point long ago, or he wasn't. I don't know. He's fought the likes of Khabib and Islam, but he's lost against both. So yeah, in his prime, Justin was very good, doing black flips off the cage. But now, still, I think he's going to win against Paddy. I think Paddy's not going to risk it. Justin will risk it because he has nothing to lose and nothing to gain at all. He has nothing to gain from this victory, neither does Paddy. Paddy also has nothing to gain. Neither of them have anything to gain, because once they win this interim bout, they will immediately lose it when Ilya comes back. Immediately and effectively. Anyway, that was my prediction for UFC 324. The next UFC event, week after that, February the 1st, returning fight of Alexander the Great Volkanovski against Diego Lopez 2. That's going to be a nice fight. After that, we have Mario Batista against against Vinicius Oliveira. And after that, we have February the 22nd, Sean Strickland against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. And then UFC Fight Night on the March the 1st, Brandon Moreno against Albayayev. And then Sunday, the March the 8th, we have Max Holloway against Charles Oliveira, their second match. Don't know why they're fighting again. That shows you how dry the lightweight division is. For Max to fight Charles for the BMF belt, Charles doesn't need it, but it's so dry right now in the lightweight division because Ilya is nowhere to be found. And now we have an interim bout up for grabs this week, and the winner will get nothing because he's going to lose it. So lightweight's not where you want to be, heavyweight is not where you want to be, flyweight's not where you want to be because of Joshua Van and the whole Pantoja situation, and welterweight, it's not where you want to be either because of Islam. You're not ever seeing gold when he's holding, you're never seeing gold as long as he's champion. Also bantamweight, not what you want to be because of Marab and Piotr Yan. They will camp at number 1 and 2 until they're dead. You'll never ever scratch the surface at number 3, ever. Middleweight's not where you want to be either because of Hamza Chimaev. No one's ever stepping close to him. It's a chasm of skill difference between him and anyone that is even ranked in the division. The only weight division that's looking like a good division to be in, and the only plausible one to be in, has to be featherweight. That's the only division there is that you have a chance of getting a belt, because you have Alexander Volkanovski, who's now, I think he's now a bit too old, and he's finally had his run. And you have Diego, who's also quite good, and everyone in featherweight is really, really good right now. Before that, there wasn't anyone that could even take the belt because Ilya was just sitting on that throne, and he held that belt for so long and no one could touch it. When Ilya vacated, went up to lightweight, wanted to fight Islam Makhachev, and that would have been an insane epic battle, but just at that moment Jack Della Maddalena lost to Bilal, forget the name, and then we had Islam immediately jumping up to fight Jack for the welterweight division, and he himself vacating the lightweight so Ilya could come up and gain the lightweight title. He even fought Charles Oliveira for that title, knocked him out in the first round in like 10 seconds. That put him as the number 1 pound for pound in the world until Islam Makhachev fought Jack Della Maddalena for the welterweight title, in which case he just won. He just won by unanimous decision for 5 rounds. It was guaranteed, handed to him on a silver platter like I predicted, and it went exactly how I said. Now, heavyweight could be a good place to be if Tom wasn't just missing, MIA, with his eye surgery. And we have Cyril Gane, who's, I will give him his flowers, he is the best heavyweight besides Tom. But everyone else, there's such a major skill gap between anyone who's even close to Cyril. There's a major skill gap. So the only one Tom can really contest his belt against is Cyril. Now the fact that Cyril has had 5 championship opportunities in his last 5 fights are insane. That has never happened, and that will never happen. 5 times you are given the opportunity to fight for the belt and you don't get it. It's insane. You still don't get it. You did get it once, but that was by fluke. And then immediately after, for his first title defense, John Jones comes back, decides to just appear in heavyweight, have a laugh, and just win in the first round because it's John Jones. Anyway, that was my prediction for UFC 324. Next prediction is week after, first pay-per-view of February, Alexander the Great, Volkanovski against Diego Lopez. Sunday, 1st of February, 4 a.m. standard time, New Park, Northern Australia, Sydney Olympic.